lives and they do first aid training and they're an amazing person and they literally save children's lives and all this sort of stuff. She's telling me, why aren't I able to charge more money? I'm literally saving lives. I'm a really good person and I'm very valuable. I say, because the whole game, that's not the game. The game is demand outstrips supply. So you need to constrain the supply of something and you need to manufacture excess demand. And unfortunately, as much as you might be the most amazing human being, you can't manufacture demand and supply tension. You can't make a profit.
I was hoping and thinking someone might say hiring. Because for me, it's hiring. That's the first thing I go to. I remember Richard Branson sitting me down when we spoke in New York and saying, listen, I built one of the biggest groups in Europe and my dad pulled me out of the room and said, I don't know what net profit is. And he says, my CEO got crayons and a piece of paper and drew fishes in a net in an ocean and said, Richard, that's profit. And then they walked back in the room. And he was at the time running one of the biggest groups in Europe. So when he said that to me, I was like, wow, he was like, you don't really need to know much if you're a really masterful delegator.
Great at hiring.
And he said, I was a dyslexic. I was always forced from the very beginning to just find someone to do it. That was exceptional. And actually, the further I've gone in my career, the more, just like you figure out like, this game, that it's actually just a couple of fundamental things that sway the outcomes. Like most of the returns come from like a couple of, in business, I've just come to learn the further that my returns come from truly exceptional people, binding them with a cult, getting them the sort of strategy or more technical things that.
I would agree with that. And the reason you can find such amazing, talented people in Richard Branson is because first he could create excess demand for that role. And then you could choose from that list.
So I go back to when I was 18. I was 18, broke, drop out of university, parents aren't speaking to me, shoplifting food. I managed to get a guy called Chris, who was running a business, to stop his business. He was double my age and successful, to stop his business and to decide to come and build a social network with a kid who was stealing Chicago Town pizzas in Manchester, who had never built a technology company before. In exchange, I couldn't pay him. In exchange for 30% of the company. And this goes back to this whole thing about offers. My pitch, my offer at that time, I was trading in future money, equity. And he believed in the value of the future money. So I say to kids all the time, actually, you don't need to be in my position now. You've all got future money and the future money is determined by how good your pitch is, your sell is.
But I think that goes back to that, like how I talk